Hey everyone, welcome to Girl Talk. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, before we get started, if you could give me a like, share, thumbs up, comment, all that other good stuff, I would appreciate it. So, before we get into today's topic, I actually have a quote for you. And the quote is: We can either invest in your wellness or you can invest in your illness. And I'm going to repeat that. You can either invest in your wellness or invest in your illness. And before we get started, I do want to say I am not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. This is for um, talking purposes, humor purposes, because we're going to keep this on the light side, and just my personal opinion and experiences. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Um, So, today's topic is going to be the lighter side of having a chronic illness. And you think, how can there be a lighter side, right? Um, but there almost has to be. Because I am a firm believer that if we don't laugh or if we can't laugh about it at some point, we can sit here and cry every day. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be diagnosed with anything either that is not going to go away. Um, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what we want to talk about today is that little light that sometimes we don't always see it, sometimes it isn't always bright, but it is there. So, um, the one thing that I wanted to kind of touch on, and there's two things that really get me. And I actually really dislike this saying, even though I say it a lot. Um, I tell people, find your new normal. And I dislike that saying for so many reasons because I think that it's like, well, maybe I wasn't too thrilled with my old normal, but what the hell's the new normal? And if I'm going to feel this way, what do I need to do about it and how do I fix it? Um, so I get the new normal, and believe me, you reinvent yourself. And we talked about that a little bit with when you're going through different things in life, whether it's a breakup or a divorce or, whatever, that even a career change, we have to keep reinventing ourselves and growing and things like that. And I think it's the same concept in a chronic illness. It's our new normal. It's our new schedule. And everybody's may look different. Just because we could have the same thing going on and your normal will look different than mine. And the reason being is because, no two people are alike. And when you're talking about medicine, you're put on a chart, right? And those charts, I don't know if they're definitely made for everyone, because half the time you can't put me on the chart. I'm going to feel like shit. So it's like, I don't know how much I believe in those charts, but okay, we'll go with that. Um, the other thing that it almost makes you cringe, but when people say one day at a time, and if you have any type of chronic pain or chronic illness, you know that sometimes looking at a day at a time is just way too much. You can't do it. Sometimes you're taking a minute at a time. Sometimes that's too much. So then you're back to a second at a time. And believe me, I get it. You're waking up in the morning and you're thinking, I cannot even fathom thinking about the entire day. It's too much, it's overwhelming, I can't do it. So you take it minute by minute. And it's okay to do that. And the other thing that I wanted to say too is a lot of times, depending, what illness or what is going on, a lot of times rest is so important. And we feel selfish, right? Because when we're in our 20s, um, most of us had half decent health in our 20s. We're not worried about it. We think we're immortal. And honestly, even if we do have something come up, it's not that we can really work on ourselves because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. You know, we got to make sure that we're getting to work and you're going in and you feel like death. Um, and it's just stuff that you don't think about. And then later in life, you're you're told, okay, now you got to slow it down a little bit, and you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. How am I supposed to do that? There is no textbook that will tell you how to do it. There is no textbook or anything that will tell you how to not feel selfish. It's just one of those things that you kind of have to do for yourself and know that while it may feel selfish at the time, it's in the best interest of you and your family. You can't pour from an empty cup. None of us can. And hopefully, if you have a family like mine, they understand that. Um, I don't know about you, but I did talk about the chronic pancreatitis that I have. And it's so weird because every time I go into a flare, I know it. But it's almost like my brain can't face the reality, I guess, or it's in denial. I don't know which, but my body knows what's happening. I know what's happening. But every damn time that I go into a flare, I go through the stages of grief. That's what gets me through. At first you're in shock. You're like, this is not happening again. And then you're kind of like, okay, this is happening again. And I don't know about you, but in order for me to heal, I have to get to the pissed off stage. And that's when I accept it. Um, I have to be mad in order to heal. And my poor family, I think it took them a long time to realize that it's just what I need to do. Um, they are here if I need them, and I am so incredibly grateful, but they kind of know that leave me alone, let me rest, and I will get better on my own. Um, would they do anything for me? Of course they would. And they offer and things like that. But honestly, um, it's just something that I've learned to do on my own and be comfortable with it. Um, that might be selfish of me, depending how you look at it. You don't let people help, but really, what are they going to do? Um, there's really no use in them sitting here watching you be miserable. There's just no need for it. So let's get to some of the good stuff. So if I'm going to use GI as an example, um, if you've ever had anything stomach wise, and even when you're little or now, if you get the stomach bug, you know what to do, right? A lot of times it's anti-nausea meds. Um, you don't eat for a little bit, you're taking sips of warm Sprite or whatever, hot tea. And then you do the broth diet, and then you can do some of the broth and the jello and all that other stuff. Well, come to find out that, and it's actually an inside joke with my family now. I don't like turkey at all. I don't even like turkey at Thanksgiving. Give me my mom's filling that is going to give me heartburn for 3 days and I'll be happy. Um, and I take a little bit of the turkey just to have it on my plate, but it's nothing that I really like. It's bland. It doesn't have a taste. But let me just tell you, guys, when you're in the hospital, so what they do is they load you up with fluids for 2 days. And like I said, your jello, broth, um, anything that you can drink, you're able to have. Um, and then they finally say, okay, you can go on a half decent normal diet. And the first thing that they offer is the infamous turkey sandwich. Again, I don't like turkey. But as soon as they say about the turkey sandwich, you're like, hell yes, give me the turkey sandwich. And it was so funny that the first time that I had this happen, I came home and I think my family felt kind of bad for me because even now, and we're talking like 3 years later, um, going on three actually, um, they're ordering turkey sandwiches, turkey subs, things like that. And I'm like, guys, why would you order that when you don't have to? There's nothing good about it. You don't have to eat it. I do. And right now, I don't have to. So I'm not going to eat it until I absolutely have to. Um, and the reason that they tell you to is because it's low fat and it's bland. Um, why would ya? Right? So it's the running joke about the infamous turkey sandwich, and my poor family is taking one for the team right now because I'm not eating it until I absolutely have to. Give me soup. Um, so there's the funny side of that. We got to find humor somewhere. And even when I'm in the hospital and at night they're like, do you want a snack or anything? It's like, okay, well, what snacks do you have? And they mention that turkey sandwich. You're taking the turkey sandwich. And that's about that. Um, the other thing that I wanted to touch on too was about advocating for yourself. And when I was first diagnosed, I knew nothing about it. My grandmother had passed away from pancreatic cancer, never smoked or drank a day in her life. We still don't know why it happened. I honestly think it was because of stress, but can't prove it. There's just not a lot known about it. And because there isn't a lot known about it, the hospital that I was taken to at the very beginning, I won't say the name of the hospital, but I will say this. Um, Doctors are supposed to help. They are supposed to be knowledgeable. They are supposed to be there for when you are scared shitless and you don't know what the hell's going on. They are supposed to be your glimmer of hope, and they are supposed to educate you. Um, that didn't happen. None of it. I can tell you that it took another health system to figure out what they couldn't. Their egos were way bigger than their knowledge. And if they didn't know what they were doing, they actually should have had me to the main campus. They should have got me out of there. They chose not to do that. And the team of doctors that I have now is phenomenal. Whether it's my GI doctors, my surgeons, whatever, dietitians, um, they're awesome. And I actually asked my GI doctor, I said, if this would have been treated correctly at the very beginning, would this now be chronic? And honestly, the answer that I got was no answer. He said, because there's not a lot known to it, you can look in any textbook and so can any doctor. And you're still not going to get an answer. We just don't know. And I have the utmost respect of a doctor that can tell me, I don't know. We don't know. And I think that's what makes a good doctor. That's just my opinion. I'd rather have somebody say, you know what, I don't know, but let me find somebody who can help. Or in this case where, there's not a lot known, you kind of go home and you think, okay, since there's not a lot known, I'm going to do my own research. And I did. And it took me down a rabbit hole. And it taught me a lot about the pancreas and things that I didn't even know it did. Stuff that I thought that I learned from my nan getting sick, and I had no idea. So definitely advocate for yourself. When I walked in there, the very first time, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So I couldn't say, well, wait, you're doing this wrong. Or wait, why are you giving me sausage links, an omelet, and home fries for breakfast when I'm supposed to be on a low-fat diet? My pancreas needs to rest. Why their dietitian didn't know that is beyond me, but I'm not doing her job for her. And it's not my problem that she can't do her job. I do have to say, me and my dietitian, now we got a kick out of that. Just saying. Me and my dietitian talk about you. Go figure, right? We're going to put that on some merch, guys. But if you aren't treated correctly, definitely reach out to your insurance company. Reach out to the hospital. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to call you because they don't want to hear complaints. But speak up for yourself. You have a right to care, and you have a right to good care. So I just kind of wanted you to remember that as well. Also, the other thing that I've learned is, when we do go down that rabbit hole of a research, it almost seems like we know more about our illness than most doctors. Isn't that crazy? Maybe it's just me, or maybe I just have something weird, or maybe I research too much. I don't know. But in a way, it's a good thing because I can now go to my GI doctors and be like, hey, I read this. What are your thoughts on it? So we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. It took 2.5 years to be able to be this confident, though. It's not something that just happened, or it's not something that was just like, oh, now I know what I'm talking about after my first flare. I had no idea. But, so that's another thing that just kind of keep that in back of your mind. That's kind of the bright side of having a chronic illness. No, we don't want it. Nobody does. But if we have to have it, well, we might as well get educated, and we might as well, figure out what we can and learn as much as we can, because why wouldn't you? The last thing that I want to talk about, and this is going to be a little controversial, so bear with me. And I want to be careful because I know that a lot of chronic illnesses, we don't know where they come from, and we don't know why they happen. You know, you can get tested for the hereditary and the autoimmune and you can get tested for everything and it just won't show up. They just don't know why. But in saying that, I also believe that even though we can have this chronic illness going on, and let's take something like fibromyalgia, not a lot is known with that either, but every bone in your body hurts, your joints hurt, your skin hurts. Um, and while I do think it's important to rest, you know, we definitely got to do that. Rest comes first before anything. But after you're done resting, I am a firm believer that we are obligated and we have a responsibility to ourselves to do what we can. And when I say that, um, I'm going to give you an example here. And I don't know if this is necessarily chronic or considered chronic, but I'm just going to use this as an example. So, my mom and my nan both had both their hips replaced. And the one thing that did not change, and there were many years in between there, the one thing that did not change was um, you have to move. It would be very easy to lay in bed. Everybody wants to lay in bed. Hell, I want to lay in bed, but you can't. And the longer you lay in bed, the worse your muscles are going to be, the worse your body's going to hurt. And believe me when I say, I have steps in my apartment. Believe me when I say that I have come home already and made it halfway up those steps and sat there and literally cried because my body hurt worse than my stomach did. Like, your muscles are just shit. It feels like jello. And that's from the weight loss and, you know, also being in a hospital bed. Those beds are awful, by the way. Can we get better hospital beds, for crying out loud? Something needs to be done about that. Um, but but so back to Nan and Mom. So they got both their hips replaced, and with my mom, we had to go to joint class. Guys, I did not know what joint class was. There's a couple ways you can take that. Um, Joint class is not about smoking. Joint class is literally about joints. Um, Knees and hips and elbows and stuff. Those kinds of joints. So we go to joint class not knowing what to expect, and they give you all your stuff for, you know, um, for home and post-op and stuff like that. And that's another underlying joke. We had to go to joint class. Who can say that, right? Um, but and the one thing that we learned in joint class and afterwards, and the same thing with Nan, was, look, this operation will only work if you put the work in. There are things that you have to do before, there are things that you have to do during, and there are things that you have to do after. And the one thing they said was, when you go home, well, let me back up, because even in the hospital, they don't even have you laying in that bed for a whole day. I couldn't believe when I called up and my mom said they had physical therapy in that night and she got it done that morning. And when she came home, I stayed with her and she did. She walked. My nan walked. Did it hurt? Yes. And they both had really high pain tolerances. Um, my mom still does. And you could see with every movement, it hurt. Both told me the same thing. I will walk. I will walk without a walker. I will walk without a cane. And I will walk without a wheelchair. And I am determined. So, we think about this and yeah, we could lay in bed and honestly, let's call it what it is. We're resting, but at the same time, I don't know about you. I'm feeling sorry for myself. I know that sounds terrible, but you do. You're just like, not again. Are you serious? Which is where the grief stages come in. But no, sometimes you know what? With with every um with every step, it hurts. But again, I feel that we are obligated to do what we can do. And if that means getting your ass out of bed and even just taking a few steps, if that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to do. You either want to get better or you don't. We only get to play victim for a little bit. And we only get to play victim for certain things. We are the victim of our chronic illnesses. We didn't ask for it. We didn't do anything. Let me rephrase. There are some things that can be avoided. There are some things that cannot, regardless of the fact. 9 times out of 10, we didn't do this to ourselves, but we're paying the price for it. So in saying that though, we can feel bad and we can ask, why is this happening to me? Why did it happen to me? To which you may never get an answer. And while it sucks so bad, you have to be okay with maybe never finding that out. You just kind of reach the point that it's like, I'm never going to know. But we still move. We still do what we got to do. And again, if that means moving your ass and putting one foot in front of the other, and honestly, that is the best exercise that you can get. Just walk. And I know that there's going to be people saying, well, there's some things that the illness will make me not want to walk. I completely understand. I agree with you. And walking was just one example. But if you can do, upper body strength, if you can do just any type of movement, we have to move, guys. And even though it hurts, and I get it, there's only so much resting that we can do. And that is the harsh reality. The other thing that I wanted to say was, it's not lost on me that chronic illnesses can change a lot of things about our body. And I did a video on body shaming, and I think that's when it really comes out. Um, when, we're sick or there's something going on, and, depending on medications or um, procedures or things like that, our bodies change, right? It could be we gained weight, we lost weight, um, you know, hair's a mess. I don't know about you guys, but let me just tell you, maybe I'm weird. Every time I get fluids in the hospital, my hair and nails grow like weeds, which kind of really it's a good thing, but really not, because you could just get your hair done and all of a sudden you have roots again. Like, what the hell? Um, it's good for something though, I guess, right? Um, but our bodies change. And the one thing that you are not obligated to do is to explain why to anyone. That explanation is an ode to them. It's not an obligation. And unless you're on my HIPAA, it's not your business. That's up to me if I choose to give that information out or not. It's not up to you. It's also not up to you that if I tell you something, it's not up to you to go run your mouth and be like, oh, well, this person has this. Well, again, unless you're on my HIPAA or you're a trusted friend or family member, there's a reason that I'm either telling you or not telling you. So let's try to be a little bit more respectful of that. And the other thing that I wanted to put out there, and this is going to end up being a lecture, sorry guys, but please, 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 if you do this, please do not. If somebody is going out in an ambulance, don't break your neck to look. That person's already embarrassed enough. And honestly, it's none of your business. As long as it's not you going in that ambulance, what the hell are you so concerned about? What, so you can tell the neighbor? Stop it. Don't do that. Because if it was you, you wouldn't like it. You'd be the first one bitching. So stop. Anyway, we're going to get back to the light at the end of the tunnel here. And there is one, I promise. So, the light at the end of the tunnel is this. Chronic illness will teach you either you take care of yourself and you're going to listen, or your illness is going to take over and you're going to listen. So, which one are we going to invest in here? Your wellness or your illness? Honestly, I'd rather invest in my wellness and try to get better to prevent these flares. I mean, it's common sense there. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, we don't wait until everything is, all organs and systems are pissed off and angry and everything else, because it's just too hard to get under control. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And also, I think it makes us, while I don't want to say hate, I said dislike earlier, so we'll stick with dislike. I'm not a fan of the new normal thing, but it does give you a chance to reinvent yourself, and it gives you a chance to slow down, because your body is telling you, listen, I need a break. I need a timeout, and I'm asking you politely to please put me in a timeout before I have to do it for you. If I pictured my body telling me something, that's what it would be telling me. So me and my body communicate, go figure. But I promise there is light at the end of the tunnel. And like I said before, We can cry all day long. We could. And some of the things that people are dealing with are not funny. They're brutal. But we also know with chronic illness, you can get very deep in your head and very deep in your thoughts. Those thoughts can get very dark. It's depressing. You don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. Nobody wants to deal with it. Nobody wants to take another pill at the end of the day. Nobody wants to have to do things that they're not used to. Um, Doctors are there to help us, but the bottom line is at home. We're at home, hopefully, more than we are a hospital, right? So ultimately, it's up to us to take care of us. It's up to us. Are we going to take that pill what we're supposed to? Are we going to walk like we're supposed to? Are we going to listen like we're supposed to? I'm not saying doctors aren't human and can't screw up. I've learned that with the first hospital I went to. But when you have a good team that you can finally bounce ideas off of, and I hope that you do, use that. Use that to your advantage. Why not? Right? So I just kind of wanted to get on and do the lighter side of it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and if you're going through it, guys, stay strong. But know that it is okay to cry. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself. It's okay to go through the stages of grief. But it's also okay to get pissed off. It's also okay to be like, all right, I've rested enough. I laid around enough. I've had enough. I'm done feeling like this way. And now I got to move. And that may be 2 steps, and it may be sitting back down. But, and you get stronger and stronger with each day that passes. It will not happen overnight. Because if you think about it, our illnesses didn't happen overnight. They might have been there for way longer than we ever thought, even before one symptom ever came out. So just keep that in mind. And again, if we can't find something to laugh about, we will cry. I just rather laugh. And I don't know about you guys, but I've ended up with a very morbid sense of humor. And people look at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? And it's laughable. Sometimes you just gotta laugh because you're like, if I don't laugh at myself, I'm just going to sit here and be a crying, depressed mess. And nobody wants that. I don't want that for myself. I don't know anybody that would. So you kind of get morbid. And you kind of go into like a dark humor where everybody's like, oh my God, did she really just say that? And you're like, or I could be like, I don't know, if I was in a flare and somebody said, how was yesterday? And be like, first of all, I was about 10 shades of green, probably like an olive, which meant that I was extremely nauseous. And I probably could have met God, which meant that I was ready to go meet my maker. I really wasn't, but, I guess if that was God's plan, then that's up to him. I don't think I have any control over that, but you do. You have to find the warped sense of humor in it, because why not? So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about the infamous turkey sandwiches. Let me know your funny stories. We all have them. I'll be very honest with you. For health systems across 3 different counties. Now, we all know the gowns are ginormous, right? And I can laugh at this now. But at the very beginning, I was horrified. I'm thinking, you kind of have shame at the beginning, but by the end or the middle, you're like, yeah, I have no shame. Those four health systems have seen my ass because of me walking down the hallway, gowns open, we can't get it tight enough. And I don't care. I just don't care. That was the least of my concerns then, is the least of my concerns now. So that's that. All right, guys, find the humor. Take care of you always. Take care of you first because, again, we can't pour from an empty cup. Stay strong, rest, and you know what you got to do. All right, take care and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.